I'm Dennis Stack.
And I'm Nate Fisher.
And this is Random Ass
Movie Reviews.
Random Ass Movie Reviews with Dennis and Nate.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Random Ass Movie Reviews.
Today we're going to be reviewing The Walk, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and it's directed by Robert Zemeckis. And The Walk is about Philip Petit, who strung a wire across the World Trade Center and walked across it. And it's that biopic of how he achieved this feat.
But before we get into our review, we're going to get into our Random Ass rankings of the week.
Let's do it. So, Dennis and I have been talking about Robert Zemeckis quite a bit and about his film collection and what he's directed in the past. And really, he has quite a plethora of great films. He hasn't really done that many bad films, or even if he has done one, it's really not that bad. It's actually a decent movie. But he has some really good stuff out there. Basically.
Yeah, and it's strange. He's not one of those directors that gets talked about as often in like the ranks of all-time greats, like your Spielbergs and your Scorseses, but you look at the guy's filmography.
Or even George Lucas. I mean,
right,
I would say he's a little, like, people don't recognize him for his movies over George Lucas even.
He has very few, if any, bad movies.
And I agree. So we thought for the rankings we'd do top 3 Zemeckis movies, but our rankings just happen to be incredibly similar. Like, they're just almost identical.
The third one on our list we kind of disagree on.
We disagree.
Let's start off with my number 1, actually Nate's number 2, and that's Back to the Future. Now, I mean, this is the obvious choice, and it's a classic movie. I mean, it's everything about it is iconic. The characters, the dialogue, the sets, I mean...
It's just a it's, in my opinion, one of the closest to a perfect popcorn, fun movie you can get. I even watched it about a week ago, and I was just smiling through the whole thing. I'm like, this is just so well done, so well acted, so well written. It is Zemeckis's one. It's easily his top 3, obviously, and that's what I think that Zemeckis is known for. Is Back to the Future. Like, it's such a giveaway.
Oh yeah, it's definitely his trademark movie.
Yeah, but having said that, so we're now gonna say the it's your number 2, but
number 1.
It's my number 1, and that is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I think this movie was so ahead of its time. You watch it now, and I still don't know how they did this. It's just the integration of animation with live actors in that time, which was 1987?
88. Yeah, they filmed it like 86, 87. It was released in 88.
It's outstanding. You watch it now, and it still blows my mind. The special effects.
It still holds up to this day. Like, I mean, we've talked about this before, how it is a kid's movie. It's cartoons. There's Bugs Bunny. There's Mickey Mouse in it. But it's so dark that it kind of isn't a kid's movie.
No. I mean, what a villain. Like,
Judge Doom is just one of the top 5 nightmares of my childhood.
And there's been some copycats. I mean, you see Cool World, and it's nothing. It's
Space
not even
Jam.
close. Space Jam. It's just not as good as Zemeckis doing this whimsical animated movie. So that's why it's my number 1. Your number 2 still ranks very high.
Oh, great! Obviously, like, I mean, honestly, I would say Back to the Future's 1 and Who Framed Roger Rabbit's 1A or 1B. You know, it's just right behind it, but.
And it's also, I think...
Back to the Future will always be in my heart.
I think a lot of times, Zemeckis, you'll say Back to the Future... Or not Back to the Future, I'm sorry. You'll say Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and people will be like, oh yeah. Like, it's sort of, for some reason, gets a little, shuffled under the rug a little lost. But it's outstanding. So, it's also on Netflix, so check it out if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, and Nate's number 3 movie is probably the movie that Robert Zemeckis is most celebrated for.
Which is Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump. It's such a good movie. I mean,
it is a great movie.
Which is why, like, I like your reasoning for your choice, definitely. But Forrest Gump just has to be recognized, and it's such an iconic character, and Tom Hanks' performance is just so funny and endearing and charming, and I just think that Forrest Gump is an experience every time. I think it's a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a history book for, the 20th century, American history at least.
With just putting Forrest Gump in every situation you can think of.
Exactly.
Essentially. But let's hear your number 3.
Yeah, number 3, I did not choose Forrest Gump. Instead, I chose Flight, the most recent movie before The Walk, directed by Robert Zemeckis. Now, the reason why I chose to pick this over Forrest Gump, well, I do love Forrest Gump. I do have problems with it.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like, for instance, I went to Chicago this summer. There's a Bubba Gump shrimp company on Navy Pier, and there's a guy out there dressed as Forrest Gump, and it's like it's become like this hokey kind of thing, and ruined it for me. But as far as the film itself,
Yeah.
It's, why, dude? Why are you so dying over Jenny? She's like a rotten person. Like, when you see her in that, I just don't get why he's so interested in her.
Because he's not totally... He's like the epitome of innocence in an adult.
I mean, I understand all that.
He's not... All the screws aren't tightened up.
Well,
I will admit a fun fact about myself growing up seeing Forrest Gump. I was young when I saw it. Honestly, when I was a kid, I didn't think anything was wrong with it.
As stupid as a stupid does.
I thought he was just a dude that just got lucky his whole life. But, like, later as I grew up, everyone was like, hey, no, like, yeah, it's kind of...
But anyway, the reason why I chose Flight is because before Flight, Robert Zemeckis released 3 digitally animated movies in a row. Those being Polar Express, Beowulf, and then A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
And I like Polar Express.
And I like Beowulf.
Beowulf was okay. And Christmas Carol just stunk. And so I felt like after those 3 like progressively worse animation movies, he comes back to live action with Flight. And he's so just like a great filmmaker. I mean, you know that this movie's about how Denzel Washington deals with surviving this flight.
Sure.
But yet, during the scene, when he lands the plane, it's so intense and it's just so nerve-wracking. Even though you know the rest of the movie is about how he survives this.
Yeah.
It's so well made that you're just like, is he going to survive it? Is he going to survive it?
It is one of the greatest plane crash scenes, I would say,
I've
ever seen on film, for sure. And I don't disagree with you at all in those factors, but I don't know if it's had the time to become a classic Zemeckis film. It is a great movie. It is an absolutely outstanding movie for sure. And Denzel Washington plays such a good alcoholic.
John Goodman as his drug dealer.
Yeah.
Great.
The cast was outstanding. So I think that either way, this is one point where we agree on most of what, our rankings at least. We definitely agree. So there's our Zemeckis rankings. And
on to the review.
This week we are reviewing The Walk, directed by Robert Zemeckis, and here's the review. So Dennis, start us off. What do you think?
I really enjoyed this movie. I mean, and I feel like that's something you can expect going to any Robert Zemeckis movie. He's a great storyteller. I mean, visually as well. I mean, I love the cinematography, the editing, the visual effects are just top notch. I mean, even though, yes, obviously these towers aren't around anymore, but still just like the realism, and Robert Zemeckis is so good at period piece, like the 50s with Back to the Future, 30s with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and this movie takes place in the 70s. And the one thing that kind of discouraged me from the trailer, but didn't affect me at all during the movie, was Joseph Gordon-Levitt's accent. Just from the trailer, I was expecting more like Joseph Gordon-Levitt more than anything.
Right, like he was trying to do a French accent, but not...
Right. But no, in the movie, it didn't bother me at all. And that's another cool thing I liked about the dialogue in there, how all these people are French, but they're all speaking English to each other. And Philippe Petit explains, he keeps nailing on the point, we're Americans now. We live in New York. We got to speak English.
Practice your English. But he did nail the French language in general. He spoke French very well.
Yeah.
I mean, convincingly. I don't speak French, so I guess I don't have
a bar.
Yeah, exactly. But to me, he seemed like he spoke French very well.
You like the movie then?
Yes, I enjoyed the movie quite a bit, actually. Like I said, with the trailer, it looked exhilarating visually. That's what I thought. I was like, this is going to be sweet. It's going to be so Vertigo-esque, and the whole, I don't know much about the story. I never saw the documentary. So there is a documentary called The Wire.
Man on Wire.
Man on a Wire.
Yeah, and it's a very good documentary. You should check that one out.
Right, and I never saw the documentary. So the whole story of how he did this was new to me, which was kind of nice. I liked how Joseph Gordon-Levitt, his character, narrated. I liked that he was on the Statue of Liberty with the Twin Towers in the background the whole time. It really focused in on his love affair with these two towers. He really had this sort of drive and this magnetism towards them. He had to do that.
And it's kind of ironic, especially considering how once he gets to New York and he's talking to New Yorkers about it, they hate the towers when they first came out. They look like ugly filing cabinets, what one guy said in the story. And then by the time he completes the walk, it's just people become enamored with the towers and this beautiful thing that he did with these two buildings.
And the pacing was at first it seemed like the first half was very almost Forrest Gump-esque. Lots of flashbacks, lots of narrative telling, him telling the story of how he got into Highwire and all that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden it turned sort of into a heist movie, didn't it? Like
they're kind of. I mean, what they did was illegal, but like how you see, your Ocean's 11 movies and all the other kind of heist movies you've seen where they got the setup, they're playing it all out, and I love the miniature models that he used too.
Yeah.
That reminded me of Back to the Future. Like I was waiting for him to apologize for not painting it and building it to scale.
Right. What did you think? I was going to ask you about him as a character. Like, did you like Philip Petit? I mean, I thought he was very charming, and I'm not sure if they exaggerated his charm, but at the same time, I was like, you're insane. You're selfish. I found him to be selfish.
Yeah, there are times when he can be a bit selfish, and underappreciative of all these people who helped him. But I just think like he was just so driven to do this, just so inspired, and he wouldn't take no for an answer on anything, and every obstacle he was willing to jump over for it. And so I think he got lost in his own hubris almost of completing this, into where everybody else and all their feelings and considerations fell by the wayside.
Right, but it's funny because that drive, that like passion, these people are volunteering their time and almost, doing something very illegal.
Yeah.
And sometimes you think of people that are like architects making these buildings, or people making full-length films and need these people to make them do it, but it almost seemed like it went into this. He wants to string a wire and walk across it. It's a crazy concept, and he didn't appreciate the people very much for helping him along the way until the end. He sort of finally, there was.
Right.
I felt like there was a lot of this thankfulness and appreciation and selfishness that he had to sort of achieve along with it.
You can understand. I mean, he's the one who started. He's the one who had the vision to do all this, and he kind of pulled everybody together. I mean, some guys couple reluctantly.
Right, and he is risking his own life. No one else is going to die in this process besides him. So there is that factor as well. But what I want to ask you about is the ending. Like, you have trouble with heights.
Yeah, real bad.
So what did you think of The Walk? You go through this whole process of this movie to get to this moment. Was it a payoff?
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm definitely afraid of heights. And I was kind of a little, nervous about this walking into this movie. I went and saw it in IMAX 3D.
And I saw it regular theater.
So that definitely enhanced the experience. Yeah, dude, you should have really gone IMAX 3D.
Bad idea. It was still great, but I should have saw it IMAX 3D.
Right. I mean, if it's, there's those movies where it's like, is it really worth it to pay the extra money to go see IMAX 3D? This one definitely is.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, sure, it like brought like anxiety out of me when he was up there, but in a good way, like an exciting way.
Exhilaration of sorts.
Yes. And like just like how I said with Flight earlier, even though like I've seen the documentary and I'm somewhat familiar with Philip Petit's story anyway.
Yeah.
I knew that, he's not going to fall, that he's going to make through.
True.
But still, like there was that tension, there was that, just once again, like with Flight, would he crash? It's like this, could he fall?
Yeah. And it was this, in me, I was like, my hands over my mouth, like, God, like, how could anyone do this? Like, he did this. And it's like, yes, it's movie magic, they had to recreate it, but, like, this person was on this wire with nothing to support him whatsoever besides this beam he's holding, and he almost, I don't know, I'm not gonna go into too much detail of the ending, but I thought the ending was a good payoff as well. I thought it was a rewarding ending and beautifully shot by Zemeckis.
Yeah, and most of all, I mean, you can just tell that this movie is really like a love letter or tribute to these national monuments that we had that were so iconic and so tragically destroyed.
Right.
But at the same time, it doesn't play on that. It doesn't try to like jump ahead to post 2001 and show them ground zero or anything like that. No, it fades out this beautiful shot of like the sun setting on New York, and the last thing the sun sets on New York is the World Trade Center.
Yeah, and it's respectively done, and it doesn't shove it in your face. It doesn't make it seem like a tribute to it. It just makes them respect them. It's very respectable. All right, well, then you liked it, I liked it, but let's see the reviews out of 10. What do you give it?
All right, well, I'm going to give this 8 out of 10 miniature models.
8 out of 10 miniature models. All right, well, that's close, but I'm going to give it 7 out of 10 turtlenecks.
Thanks for watching our review. Is there an upcoming movie you would like us to review? Feel free to leave a suggestion in the comments below.